BYU football week 2 of fall camp continues to roll on. Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. We saw a lot of practice today, and I thought there were some really insightful moments that maybe see where things are trending in the quarterback battle, particularly Gary Bohannon, who I thought showed pretty well.
He did. I think it's safe to say all the quarterbacks much improved from what we saw on Monday. Gary had some really nice throws, and he worked in. We saw him with the ones, we saw him with the twos, even. So, repetitions are still being divvied out proportionally amongst the quarterbacks. No real separation there from what we saw, at least in the media portion today. But Gary had some really nice throws over the middle. He had a standout run on, it looked like a read option that he kept and pulled and probably went for 50 yards. Gary looked good. I thought Jake had some moments too, though.
He did. And just to follow up on that run by Gary, the speed, just how fast he was getting downfield, it just stood out. And you think about last year and the struggles on the run game and how critical the run game is. If that translates on Saturdays in the fall, that could be an X factor, maybe. I mean, it was a nice run. The catches that he had the passes that he had that were big gains through the air were two freshmen with the second-team offense, Cody Hagan, Tay Nakua. It's good to see those young freshmen showing flashes. You don't expect them to be in the starting lineup, but to have those moments, it shows their playmaking ability. On the point of Jake Retzlaff, I thought he did show well, too. And look, that's what you want ultimately, Matt. I think Cougar fans coming into the season were just feeling like these quarterbacks aren't going to be able to do anything. I think I'm feeling better about this quarterback unit. I'm still not ready to say they're one of the better quarterback units in the Big 12, but I think they're trending up. I think they're showing progress.
There's enough flashes there where they can win games. Yeah. Ultimately, I do think offensive success, they have to have much better production at the offensive line. They have to have better production at the running back group. That will help a quarterback, right? Because they're just – last year, I think there was a desire, Mitch, to have a play-action game with Keaton. It never materialized because there wasn't a strong running game. Mm-hmm. So, and look, it's hard to get a sense of what the running game is going to look like here. They weren't in full pads. On the point of Jake, something I did like from Jake today is when he was with the first team, he had multiple third downs that were converted. You mentioned the Chase Roberts play. That was nice. There was an out route to Cody Epps that was on the money. So converting plays on third down is important too, because we've seen our fair share of struggles on third down. That's important. So overall, look at McKay Hillstead had a great touchdown pass to Weston Covey. It was a good day for the quarterbacks, and that's a good sign.
And Trayson Bourget had a nice run too. He had a big gain on the ground, and then I thought the defense had their moments too, where they stopped Falau Ropati or some of the running backs at the line of scrimmage. There were some just good plays both sides, and I think that's what you want to see from BYU in these media observations periods. There was a good flow. It kind of started out slow in practice. There wasn't many snaps going. Then there was a good rhythm. There was a good pace to just both sides watching the media observations. I thought that was pretty fun to see. Chase Roberts, I thought, stood out. I thought he looked good. I think Chase is going to have a much improved year this season. Last year, he was the leading receiver for BYU. But I think if you're going to say who could be that all Big 12 guy at receiver, to me, it's Chase Roberts. I think he's just going to be a much improved player. I think he's more physical. He's bigger this year. I like what I'm seeing from Chase.
Underrated, I thought, play of what we saw was on the defensive side of the ball, Mitch. You after the long Gary run, they were trying to punch it in to the end zone. They get to they ended up turning the ball over on downs. There was a defensive stop in the red zone, but on third down, there was a play where Tanner Wall came flying in and put the boom on Keelan Marion. I thought that was a really nice defensive play. We've seen Tanner mix in with the ones quite a bit through these first 2 weeks of camp. Who knows if that's to say he's going to start game one, but he certainly looks like a safety that'll be in the mix.
A lot of interesting options at safety. Tommy Parass is getting some run at the first-team defense, and Jay Hill was asked about him specifically if he's running with the ones, and Jay Hill basically said he's in the mix. So freshman Tommy Parass, who looked good in spring, he's right there knocking on the door for game action potentially in week one. And then you've got other options like Falatau Satwala when we walked on the field, and we caught up with him earlier this week, but just a big-bodied athlete. This is a good-looking team, and I think that you want to see those top 22 guys emerge. They kind of shore itself up to where they become the all Big 12 guys. And I think that's still a big question for this team. Some deep cuts. You noted Weston Covey. He got a touchdown grab. Sione Aimoa, he closed out the practice with a touchdown run. Some of the younger running backs, Pokai Honga, he looked good as well. So good day for the BYU.
Yeah, we didn't see a ton of him, but he did have one run up the middle where he put on a EA college football type nasty juke. That looked good. I'm sure he'll factor in some form or fashion, whether it's special teams or certain situations. There's a lot of options. It's just to your point, how do you bring it all together? I think there's still a lot of work to be done in that regard. Like, we spoke with tight end coach Kevin Gilbride. That'll play on Cougar Sports Saturday this week. Not willing to say where they're leaning on the tight end position, and we respect that.
Yeah, I respect a lot.
But there's a lot of guys in the mix, right? Like Ethan Erickson, Keanu Hill, to name a few. So a long way to go, but you see flashes of what can be, and I think that's a good sign.
I wanted to point out the defense, too. A lot of different personnel that we saw on the defensive line. Even at times saw Viliami Pouha, a freshman, getting some run with the first-team defensive ends. Intriguing options. I think, again, you kind of want to see maybe just a moment what these guys look like in that spot. It wasn't every single down. But again, you factor that in long term and think, okay, maybe they see something in him if you have to dig into that depth. He's a guy that maybe they could see be someone contributing on that first team. But again, productive day, and I think a jam-packed day again from BYU football fall camp as they inch closer to
the Salukis.
August 31st. This weekend, though, they got scrimmage number 1, and that's going to be a big point, I think, in fall camp for this BYU football team. So Matt Baiamonte, Mitch, Harper, we'll have full coverage of fall camp on KSLSports.com and Cougar Sports Saturday this weekend on KSL News Radio.